see, I'm waiting for them to quiet down over there, but it's Mike and the rest of the Jade Dragons, so that could be the rest of the day as far as I know. Well, welcome in to another episode of Team Check-In. Today I'm sitting by with the Jade Dragons, minus Panda Cat, of course. What's the deal with that, by the way? Max just like he's too important to move down already? What's the deal?
He doesn't want to wake up for scrims or drive or do anything. I don't know who he is anymore.
That's already a rift forming in the Jade. This is a storyline we're going to follow all year long now with the Jade Dragons. Max versus the rest of the team. It's going to be tough, guys. A lot of times on these team check-ins we talk about team houses and living situations, that kind of stuff. But you guys, as far as I understand it, you're splitting up a little bit, going with the apartment route. What was so horrible about living together that you decided that this was the only way to survive?
I mean, I didn't really live there most of the year, but I heard some horrible stories about just everything going on there and the rifts that were created, kind of like we were just referring to with Max living in New York. I mean, maybe it kind of goes without saying, Max probably is in New York because he doesn't even want to come down here. Like, he doesn't even want to live close to us. Right. So, no, I think we just all wanted to have our own apartments because, we got some, like I personally, I have a fiance and I think maybe one of these guys will eventually do something with their lives. And, no. But I think we just all want to have our own apartments. Getting towards that like point of our lives where like, I'm like 24. I think Mike's 24
I'm
as well.
2 days younger than you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so just living on our own is a nice thing to experience. And I know it goes without saying that I think if we lived in a team house with our girlfriends or our fiancés, it might get a little bit weird. So yeah.
Hey, sometimes that's the gamer lifestyle that you got to be living. What are your apartments like close together though? Are you like close enough that you could like have some in-person team meetings and that kind of stuff?
Sam and Max are gonna live together whenever Max moves, and Sam, Max, and I all live in the same complex. I think T is like maybe 10-15 minutes away, and I think same with Alec. They're like different directions though, so it's like a little love triangle for me.
Okay,
yeah,
perfect. So you're gonna meet somewhere in the middle and have all your team meetings that way. Maybe at some sort of park or something like that.
Yeah, I think Kabam is also pretty close to me, Sam, and Max. I think he's like a 5-minute drive or something. So yeah, it'll definitely be something where like throughout the year we'll hang out, or maybe we'll like I don't know, maybe have like a little movie night, stuff like that. Why not? We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah. Maybe go to the local Chili's or something.
Yeah.
Sam,
Chili.
Max is supposed to move in with you. You two are sharing an apartment. What's the deal? You're just lonely right now, waiting for him.
Yeah, he just doesn't like me.
That's an unlucky situation to be in.
Yeah, I like him a lot though, so I'm okay.
It's a parasocial relationship where you just love him, but he doesn't even know who you are.
He can learn, so no problem.
One of the things that I think a lot of people think of when it comes to your team is that you have a lot of guys who have really dove into streaming. Of course, Mike, I'm talking about you. But no, in reality, of course, Fine, Max, both really into the stream game. How do you think, I'm going to not let Alec answer this one right away, actually. I want to talk to the three of you guys.
Fine with me.
What's it like teaming with someone who's spending a lot of time streaming the game? Is it different than having a teammate who doesn't?
How annoying is it?
T, you want to hop in here?
Well, I actually probably have the least experience with this question. I have actually not. I mean, Alec was probably like getting into it a lot more when I teamed with him back on CLG. For some reason he's seen a lot of success.
So lucky, man.
Well, maybe we shouldn't get into that, actually. I mean, a crisis. Way more stream success, way more team success now. But I've definitely heard a lot about that from other players. Like people like Weekend and Incon are probably the biggest, like maybe Lassus, like back in the day, or like people that kind of came up. Sometimes I think it just kind of depends on how the player manages their schedule, because if they're like staying up too late and they're tired, or they're streaming like right after, they're streaming right before, and it's affecting like how they're playing in practice. I think that's something that like has frustrated players in the past. I have not really heard, I talk to these guys a lot, like maybe every once in a blue moon someone will like say something like a joke about it, like, yeah, like scrims were good today except for Max griefed him because he streamed right before this and he played like
right.
But For the most part, I think like I've heard good things about these guys with streaming, but it definitely varies from player to player. I think just depending on like how they value their priorities.
Mike, how about as someone who played with them last year?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I kind of think it's gonna sound really like brutal when I say it this way. I just think streaming is like a competitive like hindrance, just like completely. I think Alec at least is really. I think they're both really good at it. Like before tournaments, I think they both like kind of can tell if they just like need to chill a little bit more, or like focus on scrims, or just like give a little bit of time off. And I feel like Alec will always tweet it where you're like, oh yeah, like I'm probably not going to do like a ton of content. Like maybe you have some like YouTube videos, and then I feel like you don't really feel pressured because like the people who follow you also care about your competitive career. So it's like, it's not that bad to like find that balance. I think during the regular season, there's definitely times where like for Max, for example, just because I've played with him for so long, I can definitely tell he got burnt out more easily last year than he has in years past. But it got better throughout the year, and he's just like he's just learning it. And I don't really care if there's like a few scrim sessions or like a couple of matches where like he maybe isn't like as focused as he could be. I mean, Max not at his best is still better than pretty much every other player. So I don't really care. So, and obviously I feel the same way about Alec as well. So, you know, maybe on a day-to-day basis, they're not like 100% of what they could be, but neither am I, neither is Sam. We're trolling enough games, and yeah, that's just how it goes. Yeah.
Well, Sam, I mean, surely he's just speaking for himself here, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that about myself ever. So.
Sam, you've done a little bit of streaming during this offseason. Do you think it's something that, like Mike said, it's hard to keep up during the regular season and keep your level of play high?
Yeah, I mean, I think at least Alec has more experience with it. Max he streamed a lot, and so he definitely has experience with it too. But like for me, it just kind of burns me out quicker, I think, and it's just probably bound to have that impact either way. I think for sure it's gonna impact you competitively in some sense, but just it like doesn't necessarily have to be that big. I think kind of like Mike said, as long as you're like taking the tournaments and things more seriously, it's not a big deal.
Alec, I mean, how much sicker could you be as a player if you just didn't stream? You know, if it's holding you back, maybe that's the play.
I don't know. Honestly, nothing against like I just played Smite for 7 years. I don't know how much I would play the game outside of scrims if I wasn't streaming.
Right.
So I actually am able to like test some stuff out and like do stuff on stream. And at the end of the day, like I always tell like my viewers and everything like that like two things. One, competitive is like the most important thing to me, so it's always going to be my priority. So people will come into like my YouTube comments or my Twitch and they'll be like, "Stop spamming tab. Why are you spamming tab so much?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm looking at their items. Like it's actually like a good thing to do. It's like always constantly looking at it." And like they'll say stuff like, "Oh, you should like raise your quality so it looks better in game," and like all these things I use for like a competitive advantage. So like I'm never gonna change. Like if you want to watch me for me, then you watch me. I'm not gonna change because like it's important for me to be competitive. And two, as far as like streaming goes, I actually see myself more as like a YouTuber first. Like if I wasn't able to stream, I wouldn't be like that mad about it or that sad because I would always still have YouTube. And if I had to like choose between YouTube and Twitch, I think I would choose YouTube because like all my life I've like to do YouTube videos and make like pre-made content and stuff like that. So if I ever felt like, or if my team ever felt like it was really getting in the way and really causing like lots of trouble in the team, or that I was playing horribly, I'm sure they would let me know. And if that was the case, then I would definitely slow down on the streaming. And at the end of the day, I stream like every other day. That's not really that stressful, to be honest.
Yeah. Bart's check for you is in the mail that you're a YouTube guy, not a Twitch guy. He's going to be hooking it up.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you guys a little bit about team environment, but I want to go to Hurry first because you're kind of joining this team. You've been on a lot of different rosters during your career. So far, before the regular season, I know you guys are just starting to scrim and that kind of stuff, but how does this environment differ from other teams you've been on in the past?
I think one thing that'll be really consistent is that, you know, and it's not a specific nod. I mean, maybe it is to teammates I've played with in the past, but the level of effort that everyone brings, like people mess around, you know, especially like as it gets later on in the day and later games, that's pretty consistent for I think a professional player, especially all of us who've been playing the game so long. But just, you know, coming to practice and, you know, putting in, you know, at least, you know, 80%, which sounds kind of silly because, you know, it's what we do, but there's a lot of, you know, people in the scene, and I'm sure in other pro scenes that are like this, where they just come and they don't really put forth, you know, their full effort. And that's honestly the one thing that like frustrates me the most, is because I feel like I come and I'm, you know, communicating consistently, and there's just a lot of people, you know, who don't do that. And everyone on this team, you know, I could tell from day one and just from knowing them as well, you know, playing with, you know, like Alec in the past before as well, is just that they're just consistently communicating about what they want to do. You know, it might not always be the best, you know, it might not always be like exactly what they should be saying, but I just know that everyone's like in it from like start to finish. You know, some days everyone has off days, but
Except for Sam.
except for Sam, of course.
Gone over that.
But yeah, I don't know. That's just something that I really appreciate, and I know is going to make, you know, things just a lot more enjoyable for me this year. You know, I definitely have had a lot of teammates that do that in the past, but I have had, you know, a fair amount that don't. You know, I'm not afraid of like. They're also just everyone's like honest with each other as well, and there's a lot of respect that all the players have for one another. And that's something that I found that like that I've lacked in some teams before. You know, we weren't doing that great, so that's to be expected maybe a little bit. But if people are playing poorly, someone will be like, yo, you're like, what are you doing today? And you'll have open conversation instead of this like weird passive aggressive, like you can tell you someone doesn't think you're very good thing. You know?
Right.
So yeah, all those are just huge major improvements, and I'm happy to be, you know, a part of this year.
So, Mike, when's this whole facade of trying gonna stop, man? Like, surely you can't keep it up forever.
I don't know. I can't believe he didn't realize it like through his answer, but I keep telling Tyler it'll be my worst year, like by pretty significant.
Okay, yeah. What's the deal with that, man?
By pretty significant.
What is the deal with this is gonna be your worst year ever?
I just can't do it anymore, man. I'm a broken man. Yeah, that's all it is.
That's tough, dude.
Yeah.
Unlucky for Tyler Whitney.
You're telling me.
Well, it's Tyler's job to piece him back together, I think.
Yeah.
No pressure though.
It's like a jigsaw. It's like a jigsaw puzzle, but like it didn't like not all the pieces came in the box, so he has to like make some of them up, and it's just gonna be hard.
Surely an engineer could make it work, though. I mean,
wait, you have a degree?
Degree?
Well, now that you mentioned
Is that a
it,
deodorant?
Maybe a degree of sanity left. Let's see how long it lasts.
Mike, how does this? I mean, you guys, the core of you and Max have been together for a long time, obviously, but now teaming with Sam and Alec for another year. How did the dynamic sort of change from the beginning of last year to the end of last year, and now into the beginning of season 8?
Yeah, so I would say honestly, like Max and I weren't on E United. We were like we obviously like got along and we're good teammates, but I think going on to Rival and having him play mid was a pretty like not transformative experience for that team like team wise, but I think Max basically what I'm trying to say is Max kind of took like a bigger, he was just in a more vocal role, and I think he kind of learned through that how to have a more like commanding presence. Like he was always a communicative player and very talkative and would always like say his opinions, but I feel like now he can have a more like firm role in even like draft. He had some really good input at like tournaments last year and stuff like that. I feel like we're more comfortable also with Alec. This will be our 3rd year playing with Alec as well, and I feel like we just have a bigger comfort level with like for Max and I, it's kind of like unspoken, like we just know how each other think, and I think that will just naturally make things flow a lot easier, where we kind of just know what we want to do on our lane and what positions we want to be in. And I think it makes it easier to work on other team synergy things. So, you know, we've dealt with, you know, role swaps the past couple of years with Max and then with, you know, Ben. And then obviously like adding in Sam and just like going through a bunch of like pretty big important role changes. I actually feel like this year we finally, like the 3 of me, Max, and Alec don't have a big change like that because Hurry's been playing mid for so long and he's very experienced in it, and we're kind of just like plug and playing a little bit. So I think that'll kind of just be really easy for us to figure out. And then also having another year with Sam. Sam was a very different style from what Ben was, and I'd say for me and Max, Sam was kind of the first jungler that we played with that like really wanted to like truly play a carry style pretty much every game. Like Sprack, where Scream could do it, but he would also like enjoy playing tank styles and things of that nature. So I feel like just having another year together to kind of mesh those play styles together will be really important for us. And then, you know, team environment wise, obviously we all get along and enjoy being around each other, unless I'm just, you know, being really stubborn and argumentative, which I would never do.
Surely.
But yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Sam, I did want to ask you about how you have continued to mesh into this team, but also I think that it's worth noting that for those who maybe just started watching SPL or something like that, that you haven't really been in the league quite as long as guys like Mike or as Hurry, but obviously your standing in the league doesn't really reflect that. You're coming into this year thought of as the unanimous number 1 jungler, but also potentially the number 1 player in the league. How has that quick rise of expectation, has that affected you at all, you think?
I mean, I don't really think so. I mean, it's fun to like mess around about and stuff, but I don't really think that about myself as much as like maybe the outside people do. I do to some degree, right? But like either way, I don't think that I let it get to my head necessarily, at least. But I don't know. I don't really think it changes too much, really. It just kind of still playing Smite.
Still running it down.
Yeah, just doing my thing, you know. I think there's still just a lot of stuff to improve on, and I think I generally know what I need to improve on, but it's just about actually fixing those like issues and things. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think it changes that much, to be honest.
How much do you think this year is going to be different because there's so many new junglers coming in and so many of those established names like Adapting and Cherio are no longer in the league?
It'll be interesting, but I don't think it'll actually end up being that different. I think there'll be like a growing period, you could say, for like newer players, whether they're jungle or other roles. But I mean, I think the league will for sure miss like those guys, you know. But generally, what just tends to happen is other people kind of like step up. So I kind of figure that'll happen, you know. Should be
the case at least.
Yeah, you'd think so, but
you'd hope so. I talked to Mike about this a little bit earlier, but I kind of want to get the group's thoughts. This year, in my opinion, is probably the highest expectation for a team coming in for you guys since Energy Season 3, going into that split of EU SPL. Certainly, this team is the most favored team we've seen in the combined SPL coming in before a season. What is that like, being on a team that not only the fans, but other pro players, when we're doing all this content, they all go, oh yeah, Jade Dragons are probably just going to be the undisputed number one. Is that weird at all? Do you feel like that is different than most other years coming in than this one? Alec, we can start with you.
I think maybe it was pretty similar to last season. I think 2 years ago when we had Kenny or Arkil and Max switch to mid, it wasn't that the expectation wasn't there, just because we were kind of all coming together and people had to see whether we would mesh. But I think last season it was pretty similar, even with Ben switching to mid. You know, Max is one of the best ADCs of all time, if not the best. So they probably expected that last year as well. But I don't know, expectation, like having high expectations for us is it's kind of a fickle thing. It's a little bit it's a double-edged sword, I guess, because obviously it's very, very awesome to have, like, everybody has all that confidence in us, and you know, everybody roots for us, which is awesome. But at the same time, you know, it can be a little bit stressful to you know, try to play towards those people's expectations and everything like that. At the end of the day, like Sam kind of alluded to it as well. Smite is, you know, you're just playing Smite at the end of the day. But it can be a little bit stressful, I think, to try and play towards everybody's expectations. But also, I guess we kind of bring it on ourselves because we're all very, very confident. We're all very, very confident, and like, you know, I'll say all the time, like I said it in like an interview or something, but, you know, expect us to be beating like your favorite team coming into the season. You know, if you're not going to be buying our icon, you're not going to be buying our avatar, then
available for 200 gems each.
Exactly. You know, if you're not going to be wearing our icon, then you can support whatever team you want, but we're going to be beating your favorite team. So we kind of bring it on ourselves with our confidence, but that just kind of goes with the territory. So I don't know. I think it's a good and a bad thing. So
anyone else have any thoughts on the expectations?
The expectations are just to be. I think they're just to be expected, and it's just a little bit. You know, it's kind of fun to just, you know, in the off season, kind of see what people think, and you know, for me, like all of a sudden, I go from being like, you know, it's not like I haven't been on a top team. Like on Dig, we were consistently in the top 3 throughout that year, but just seeing like people rate you high is like, you know, it feels kind of good. You get a little high when you're like, oh yeah, like.
I am awesome.
You should expect us to be the best, huh? Like, we are really good, but we haven't even played, obviously. But they've been owning for so long, so you expect to see that. You expect to see us there. But I think, for me, at least personally, the expectation doesn't really mean a whole lot. Like, I don't like Alec has a Twitch stream, I think, which is like something like, you know, if he has a bad day, he has to go and he has to, you know, if we lose, then he's gonna
Why
get
didn't you ban Scylla?
100
Ban Achilles.
100,000 people just saying the same thing like
Yeah.
progressively throughout the day. It's just probably annoying. But for me, like, I had that expectation. I wouldn't be surprised if we were just winning every game and it wasn't particularly difficult. I mean, there are teams that obviously take a lot more effort than others, but if we were just winning a lot of games, I wouldn't be surprised. But at the same time, like, I don't think anyone's going to be like super beat up if we like lose some games, especially early on in the season with everything going on. So the expectations are just fun, I think, more than anything.
Are you looking forward to being blamed for any and all problems with the Jade Dragons roster, Hurry?
You know what's funny is I really I just don't think it's gonna bother me at all for some reason. Like
That sounds like a challenge. That's what that sounds like to me.
Wait, I thought Team Out was
I've
OP.
already
Like,
kind of
should we not play it?
gotten it a little bit from people here and there, but I just don't. It doesn't like bother me. Like I guess it would be lying to say, I am human, and if there were just people like messaging me all the time, like, oh, I wish Twig was back. Like you're the worst mid laner in the league. Why'd they pick you or something? Like I'd be like, okay, that's kind of mean. Like, but
You're kind of lucky with that because Ben, for whatever reason, like mid or jungle, he's just the most like hated player by fans.
He absorbed
Yeah.
it.
He had so many sets and games with us where he just
Yeah.
he like solo carried the games. Like our first tournament last year against SSG, he was suspended, didn't scrim with us, didn't play the first set against Renegades, played Hell for the first time in the SPL and like hard carried the game.
Yeah.
And then after the set, it's like, oh man, you guys look so good. Like your side lane, Sam, oh, just amazing. Like Ben is
true.
just carrying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it awesome whenever you go out on a date and you hear your ex, like hear the person you're talking to talk about their ex all the time, Hurry? Like, isn't that such a good
Oh,
feeling
that's-
that you had right here?
yeah, I mean that's just
pick
lovely.
Janice.
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna
Janice or
say
lose. That's probably gonna be what people say. About it.
we've already started in
Yeah.
scrims, but like saying stuff like, well, something that Ben used to do, something that he liked that was really good for us.
Or like, this could be really good. The next evolution. I was going to ask about how you're hazing Hurry, and I do want to get to that. But if I could suggest maybe the week we scrimmed with Baskin, this is what he was doing.
We
Like,
did, we did
That
that
is
with
good.
we did that with Ben a little bit.
Yeah.
Actually, just like messed with him because European players, they just think like Baskin's the most overrated player ever for whatever reason. And like, sure, he hasn't like won worlds or anything, but he's just such a
But
good lane player.
he's
and
Baskin.
It's just
Right.
funny. Yeah. I mean, on a serious note, what I was saying about Ben is that I don't think Tyler will have to deal with that type of fan interaction because Ben was just like pretty disrespected on our team, I think, from the public eye, which is understandable. Like the type of player he is, his style kind of lends itself to that. But yeah, I just think that it won't actually matter. And I personally, like, I'll put a lot of pressure on him right now. I kind of expect Tia to have his like best individual year because I think environment wise, there should just be a lot less like question marks and stress because he's not like Dig was kind of, they weren't completely a new team, but it was like two different like carry players. So learning that dynamic between like the front line and the back line is kind of hard. I just think Max is really good at playing with the backliner in general. And then me, Sam, and Alec have played together for a while. Well, not Sam as much, but Alec and I have. So I just think it's pretty easy to just like form a good environment and to give him more space to be an individual player than he has in the past, like having to correct team flaws and things of that nature.
And he's just going to pick Janice every game, right?
Yeah,
Like
I
that's-
hope so. Yeah.
Have you been, has it been the constant barrage of having to play Janice already so far, T? Or are you trying to hold that one in the bag?
When I joined, I said, I'm not playing Janice. You still want me? They said no.
He said, what's this all been
So I
about?
said,
then?"
okay. I said, okay, I'll just pick it every game then. Well, I'll do whatever you say, actually.
Yeah, I mean, we
Just see
tasted-
what I can get away with.
We tasted it once, and after you like that, you taste, like
Yeah.
at that point, you just want it every game. Like,
Yeah, like what's the point of going back to something else?
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to get into what are some of the plans to haze that you've already done, Hurry, or maybe that you're going to be doing in the future, if you're okay with cluing them in on them.
Yeah, I think they're making sure that they ease me into it. They're pretending like it's not going to happen. But once they get a little more comfortable, I already feel like, I'm gonna die in the second wave, and Sam's just gonna be in a mood that day, and he's just gonna say something like, "Ooh, I think Ben might have played that different." Which in a way I look forward to. Letting my teammates down now, but
There's like a lot of sarcastic stuff that we like to like. we haven't done it too much, but we just do it in general probably the past few years as well. It's just saying stuff like I said it before, but like, for example, Tiamat's a new god and she's really good. And if we lose a scrim with Tiamat because we play it, saying something like, so is Tiamat not OP? Or I thought,
Can we not play Tiamat as a team?
are we not able to play that? Or just saying stuff like that has nothing to like, say I get like solo level 2 in my lane, saying
I just
something
had a
like
disco passive.
Yeah,
I don't know. Ben would have given me a disco passive.
Or just say something so irrelevant like, I was distracted because, Hurriwind didn't buy a starter item. And I just thought, I couldn't focus this scrim. Just saying super sarcastic stuff. But none of it's ever serious. And it's all just, just joking around. So.
You guys doing a lot of joking around. I can't
We just do that with everyone. Like with Alec, we'll like just with Totem, we hear the enemy team get Totem. Just like, Alec, is Arthur not good in lane? Like, should we not pick
I
that?
thought that was a good match.
Alec, I thought we gave you 10th pick and they got Totem. What's the disconnect here?
Yeah,
like
my new thing, I did it the other day in a scrim, but I got ganked like level 3 or 4. And I said to my team, I said, for the record, I would have gotten Totem, but I got ganked level 3. So just so they know, it's just a little...
Right. We've got to figure out a way to make sure that doesn't happen.
Exactly.
Because if we're losing Totem for something like this, that is completely unacceptable.
Yeah.
Before I let you guys go, I do want to touch one more time. I'm sure that you all love hearing about it, but I am curious on the fact that you guys have gone, at least Alec and Mike, have gone back-to-back World Finals now, back-to-back runners-up.
Not me.
In those sets. Not Sam, as he so eloquently points out. How is that affect? Because we talk a lot about, you win a world championship, maybe you lose that edge, maybe you lose a little bit of that hunger. Usually, the story goes, you finish runner-up, that hunger gets that intensity goes up the next year because you really don't want to feel that again. You felt that twice in a row now. How do you think that's affected your drive coming into this year? Mike, we know it's going to be your worst year ever, but that might be out of your control. Do you think that...
I feel like that's more in my control than it being the best year ever. I would argue that pretty heavily, actually.
That is a good point. How do you think that your last 2 years finishing have affected your drive coming into this year?
Yeah, for me, it's kind of hard because I tend to just be an overthinker in general. So even if I feel like we played well as a team or could have won or, whatever, our thoughts are on that, which obviously I feel very confident in our ability to win and feel like we easily could have won this past year. I mean, I feel like every game we were in pretty dominant positions and had a lot of just mistakes that just like lose games, which has kind of been a trend throughout our team the past 2 years. So it's really easy for someone like me who tends to overthink and be very like self-critical and analytical with that type of stuff to overreact, because at the same time we have been very successful. We have won a ton of splits and a couple other tournaments and, been very good individually and as a team. So finding the balance for me between correcting those mistakes and noticing those flaws while not losing the identity that has made us very good is hard for me, especially considering I'm a broken man and it'll be my worst year. I mean, I say that as like a joke. On a serious note, like obviously I'm pretty... It definitely doesn't feel great to lose twice in a row. I'm still like proud of what our team has accomplished, but I don't know how it changes the hunger level. I wouldn't say it demoralizes me, but I just think I'm just more numb to the ups and downs, I think, after having like a career length that's been, 7 years or whatever it is at this point, and having a lot of success and Max and I have been to 3 of the last 4 finals, and being 1 and 2 in those isn't great, but like, there's plenty of players who haven't even gotten to like the semifinals of Worlds and, stuff like that. So it depending on how you want to paint the narrative, I don't think it's all gloom and doom.
Sure. Sam, how about for you? Because you're in a slightly different position, having gone 1 and 1 in the last 2 finals.
Yeah, I think like, I don't know if it necessarily ups the hunger or not. It probably does to a bit, but I think I just kind of, I don't know. It's probably the same for everybody. Kind of just always like want to win, and like that tournament or Worlds is just like the most important, and it obviously feels really bad to lose. So it just makes you want to win it more. But I don't know if it actually changes that much in like reality, because like I think a lot of that is pretty temporary, and you feel it like more right after the loss. Like maybe even now you could still feel it, but like by the time it gets to the next one, it's kind of like the like hunger you'd say you could gain from losing isn't really you still have like hunger to win because obviously the tournament's coming up, but it's not really from like losing. So I don't know if it actually has that much impact. But yeah, I don't know. Obviously, it's just like the main goal is to win Worlds. So like, I think it'll just be there either way for me at least. But
Alec, how about for you?
Yeah, I think Mike and Sam are at a different spot as well. Even just from like, even though Mike and I have been on the team for the past 2 years and have placed second the past 2 years, he and I are even different because he's actually won one and I haven't. So there's even going to be a different dynamic there as far as like hunger goes, because like going back, it's not even the fact that like we went back to back finalists and we're just like that close and we could have done this or should have done that and barely didn't do it. All of that stuff does, like when you look back on it, it does feel pretty bad, and like, you know, it does make you maybe not sad, but it does make you feel like, you know, that, like you really want to try and fix those mistakes going into the next season. But I think the main thing is just not having a championship yet, like world championship, like under our belt. Like, and that's why I really like having Tyler on the team. And like a discussion that we had going into the season is like picking up somebody like Paul when we were trying to look for a mid laner. And Max and I were kind of the same opinion going into it, that like we didn't really want to pick up the person that we've lost to back-to-back finals now and like just ruin the competition. But not only that, like we want to beat that player, and like especially with somebody like Hurriwind or Tyler, like somebody that hasn't won a world championship or hasn't even gotten to the finals, like that opportunity to like win with somebody like that, just a lot more appealing. It just seems like a lot better for the team environment overall. So I mean, the hunger for me personally is definitely there. Like a few weeks ago, I went back and read some of the like Reddit posts, which this is something you should never do ever.
Wow, yeah,
True.
dark day for you,
going
huh?
through it.
But
huh?
I don't know exactly why. I think it just came up. Maybe I was just super sad listening to like some Drake or something. But I was reading through it, and I just was reading some of the comments, and I'm not gonna say anything specific, but like some of the comments, they genuinely made me mad. Like they made me want to just like play that finals again, or they made me want to like get back there as soon as possible, playing in front of a crowd and try and win again. So I mean, stuff like that makes me more hungry. But I think the biggest thing is just not having won yet, really. Mm-hmm. Although I will say, let me clarify something for all you idiots out there. For the people, there's some people that have said like, there was a specific comment that said Max. It said Panic Cat, PBM, and Final K have never won anything together as a trio. Okay, somebody said that. Like, first of all, Worlds isn't the only thing that happens all year. We play all year. You do recognize that, right? And I will say the feeling of winning all year, winning consistently and being the best team all year, I wouldn't say it. Obviously, I don't know what it feels like to win a world championship, but I would say that it comes close to the temporary feeling of winning a championship, because that being in that like mental state of just winning all year and not having to worry about like being stressed or anything like that, like I would say that's a pretty good feeling. I don't know how you guys feel, but
being the opposite doesn't feel great. That's for
yeah,
sure.
I think Sam was in that spot on SK. They ended up winning the world championship, but all year they kind of lost and were probably yelling at each other and stuff. But I don't know. Just I will say that winning throughout the entire year is definitely an important part of the league as well. So
I mean, I think it's kind of reflected with how other teams kind of. I've been very heavy, especially the past few years, on just like, for example, like the formation of like the original rival team. I was pretty all in on just like team environment values and just scrimming and just wanting to make sure that like if your work environment, this goes for anything in like life or your job or school, whatever you have going on, like if your work environment or the space that you're in for, you know, most of your days isn't enjoyable, then your ability to perform at your highest level or to like get along with people or work cohesively is just, it's so hindered, and people just won't have fun. And like, while obviously it's a job and we want to perform at our highest and that's always the goal, and like Worlds does have the biggest financial implication, like those are all just very human things to think about and worry about. I feel like last year, aside from just the obvious, you know, downside of the pandemic that everyone's been dealing with, is that we do just get along really well and have fun with each other, like especially season 6 in the team house. You know, Sam and Tyler weren't a part of that, but just for me and Alec, like me, Alec, and Max, and, you know, Ben, like we would just do stuff together like all the time. Like we'd always go to the gym together. We'd, you know, go hang out or just like sit around the house and talk or play games. And I feel like our enjoyment of just our life outside of our scrim environment, of our game environment, is kind of what fuels that. And I think you can kind of see that throughout the past few years, where if there's a person who has a stigma around them of being like a toxic teammate or being a bad teammate, people don't want to play with that player, even if they're really, really good. In the long run, it's not beneficial. And you see people that are very praised by their teammates, people like Cherio for just being like really great people for team environment. I can't speak. So yeah, I just think that's really important to me personally. And I think to put a lot of pressure on Worlds or to act like, it's really hard because they did win back-to-back years. But I mean, you could ask Neil how he felt, or ask Sam how they felt in the past couple of years through, you know, going through that team environment. I think especially Neil, because he's someone who's very like intimately involved with being kind of a team leader, which is something I respect a lot. It's hard to deal with trying to keep everybody together. It's almost like babysitting in a weird way. That's kind of how I felt on United, and it wasn't a maturity level, and it wasn't like it was just me, but sometimes like people are just grumpy, or they're in bad moods, or they just don't want to be around each other, and it's just better to have a more mature and more fun team atmosphere.
Yeah, Sam, I mean, he mentioned that you might be able to speak on that with your time at SK and then here with this team. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, for sure. I think team environment's just really important, and I think that's what we definitely have with this team, where we can all get along really well, but we take it seriously too at the same time. Seriously enough, I think. Maybe sometimes could be more, but like in general, I think like having fun just positively impacts like how well, not necessarily how well you're gonna do, but like your maybe ability to perform, you could say. But yeah, I mean, I think I made some tweet about after losing Worlds too, but like I definitely wouldn't take back, like if I could have in some theoretical world I could have chosen, right, and just chose to like win Worlds but have like a bad season, I don't know if I necessarily would do that. I definitely wouldn't take back the decision to like join these guys and have like a really good year and like enjoy it, right? But we end up like losing in finals. Like I think it's definitely worth just having a very, I don't know, just a very fun team environment where you're always going to enjoy yourself and you can be productive like most of the time, compared to the opposite where like I wouldn't say our team environment was that bad on like SK, and I don't know if theirs was that bad on PK, but there's just times where it was very unfun, and like I think it just kind of inherently comes with losing a lot, maybe, where like it just kind of gets to your mental, you know. And like even if like you get along with the players, like there's just going to be like random arguments at some because people are mad that they're losing it and stuff like that, and that just isn't always the most enjoyable situation. But yeah, I mean, I think just a really positive team environment is really important for sure. One that you always look forward to coming to scrims each day and like stuff like that. Right.
Rewinding a little bit, Hurry, before we go, I do want to touch on what Alec was saying, that you know you haven't won a world championship either. You've obviously, as you're very close with Mike and with Sam, you've watched them lose last year in the finals, and of course, any player, regardless of if they've won or not, is going to be very hungry for a world championship. But I'm sure there's some part of you that, you know, going from a team that really struggled last year to now understanding that this is certainly the best roster you've been on in your career. How has that hunger been renewed this year with this Jade Dragons roster?
Well, I just think I have more confidence in it. You know, my goal, I've been doing this for so long, like about 7 years probably, like Mike mentioned earlier. And as with anything that I've done in life, as with, I imagine most people, I want to achieve some goal. And that goal, since I've started playing, is winning the world championship. And I kind of felt like it was drifting away from me last year. There was definitely a moment in that year where I thought, is this going to be the first major thing in my life that I'm not going to be able to achieve? And honestly, that was like a pretty depressing moment for me, because I definitely had hope in all my individual years, even on teams that weren't necessarily the best, that we would have a chance. But last year, there was definitely a time when I felt like a spike of depression where I thought there's just no way we're going to be able to do it. And I honestly have never felt that way before. And being able to join this team definitely renews that hope for me. You know, I can't exactly express how I felt when they told me that I was on the team, like right now, but it definitely was the highlight of my life probably for the past couple of years, because I felt like I might actually be able to do this thing that I've been wanting to do for so long. So I'm very appreciative of that, and my hunger is definitely, you know, as high as it's ever been. I feel like we only have so long to do it, and it's kind of a reminder last year. So I'm hoping that'll push me to have the drive to accomplish that this year with these guys.
Well, good luck, because it's going to be Mike's worst year ever.
That's what I'm talking about.
But Sam's best year.
It'll be my best year. That's what I've been saying.
okay.
Does
So.
that even out?
Mine will be way better.
I don't think it'll be higher.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I should have done this a long time ago.
There you have it. It's going to be a fun year to watch, guys. Good luck. Can't wait to watch you play. Remember, SPL starting end of April, so make sure you're marking those calendars. April 23rd. Thanks for the time, guys. Appreciate it. And thank you for watching. We'll see you next time here on Team Checkin'.